Hi guys, welcome back. Today we're going to be checking out this water leak here. We seem to have a water leak around this expansion tank for the well. We have an artesian well here, which basically means that the pump is submersed down into the hole. This one happens to be about 300 feet deep, 275, 300 feet, 275 to 300 feet deep. I think I took 25 feet off of it at one time because it was getting a lot of dirt in it. But we seem to have a leak here, so let's see what we get, where that water's coming from. Looks like it's been leaking for a while. As you can see, all the minerals coming out of the water. As the water evaporates, the minerals turn back to solids. All that, well, appears to be some type of calcium. So let's take a look and see where it's leaking from. All right, so here we have our tank, our expansion tank for the well. If you're not familiar with this type of system, there's a pump down, sunk down into the well. Like I said, this one's about 300 feet deep. I think it's 275 actually now. And every time there's a call for water, that pump pumps this tank, pressurizes this tank basically. And this tank has a bladder in it, a rubber bladder that expands, so that it takes the pressure that the pump's creating and kind of gives it a place for it to go into. You can see on the right side there, that gray box is our pressure switch or pressure control. So when it gets below a certain pressure, it turns the pump on. When it gets to a certain pressure, it turns the pump off. Usually 40, 60 is a good range for these. You can set it to what we call a cut-in of 60. I'm sorry, cut-in of 40, which means at 40 psi, when the pressure drops to 40 psi, we turn the pump on, and then we set the cutout around 60. So when we pump up this bladder inside this tank to 60 psi, then the pump will shut off. And you can see I've changed the that gauge recently because it was all corroded. So looking around here, this is definitely where the main leak is. Let's see if we can find it. Oh, there it is. Oh, did you see that? There it is. So this component on the left here that you see is dripping is a relief. So in the event that the pump was to stay on continuously, maybe the pressure switch got stuck, this would blow the water out. It would relieve the pressure in the system so we don't blow the bladder inside the tank apart. This one here happens to be an adjustable one. We usually set these around 75 psi. So if we're shutting the pump off at 60, we have that margin for error there. 15-pound margin for error. The one on the right is just a drain if we wanted to drain all the water in the house. So now basically what we have to make sure is that we haven't reached the pressure set point of the relief, which is usually about 75. I can't tell by looking at this right now without cleaning it up, but usually that's what they're set to. So above 75 psi, they will open and start leaking water out. Usually not a drip, but usually a pretty large leak. So let's see what we got on the gauge here. It looks like our gauge is 50, maybe 52 psi, G actually. So this should not be leaking. This should only leak above 75 psi. So looks like we got a bad pressure relief, and we're going to swap that out today. First thing obviously we're going to do is we're going to shut the well pump off. So the well pump has no ability to come on. So there's the well pump switch, shut off. So the well pump now is off. It cannot come on, regardless of what happens to the pressure switch. So we can't get any pressure coming from the pump. There's the black plastic tube that's coming from the well. You can see it goes out the bottom of the foundation through the ground, about, I don't know, about 30 inches, 36 inches deep. Out to the well itself. And then this is the main line coming to the building. So we're going to follow up to a point where we can isolate it from the rest of the building, so we have to drain the building down. Looks like we have the ability to shut off. They have a whole house filtration system here. So if we close those two, that valve there, if we close that one, this one's a bypass, it's already closed, and we close this one, will in effect valve off the house. However, we do have another one coming out here, which is coming up. There's a ball valve here as well. There's no ball valve heading in that direction. That feeds water to the boiler, hot water boiler. And this one here, I believe, goes outside. Feeds our outside faucets because we don't filter water going to our outside faucets. Only the water going to the house. This is a separate line. So what I'll have to do is I'll have to shut that water line down and determine there is another outside faucet here. I'm gonna follow that down. See if it tees off somewhere. I know there's another faucet on the outside. Oh, there it is there. There's another tee right there. Okay, so that tee takes the water to the other side of the building, outside faucet. So we're gonna isolate that. We're gonna isolate that here. So we'll have to close this one as well. This one's for the boiler feed. We'll have to close that as well. All right, so I'm going to close the water feed to the boiler off. This ball valve right here. I'm hoping the relief doesn't blow. I'm hoping the backflow preventer doesn't blow up. We'll see what happens. Should be okay. All right, I'm also going to be shutting off this valve here. Okay, so that one's shut off. So that one's closed, and then I just gotta close that one up there. And that's the loop for the whole house filter. So I'm gonna close that one, that one's closed. Like I said, that one, I'm gonna close that one up there, gonna get a ladder. And I'm gonna close that one up there, which feeds the outdoor faucets. And that should do it. That should isolate the tank and that fitting from the whole house. And then all I gotta do is drain a little bit of water on it. There's gonna be some pressure in there, or the water in the tank obviously is gonna come out. We're gonna have to drain the tank down. Hopefully she's okay inside. Just so we can change that valve out. Right, that one's closed. Then we're gonna close this one. Always scary when you're closing valves that have been open for 25 years. Sometimes bad things can happen, but we got no choice here. Okay, so we're gonna drain this tank down, and whatever is not isolated from the rest of the building, we're gonna drain it down. I'm gonna connect the garden hose here. I'm gonna connect the garden hose. Sorry about moving the camera around on you. I'm gonna connect the garden hose here. Okay. Now this basement is a walkout, so it just ran the hose outside the building. If it was a walk-up basement, you wouldn't be able. Obviously, you wouldn't be able to do this. You'd have to drain into a bucket. You have to get yourself a bucket and then just drain it, water into a bucket, and dump the bucket out once in a while. Well, like I said, this is walkout, so it's easy. I'm just going to open up this valve here and empty out what's in this tank and what's in the everything below the isolation valves that I closed. And open it up gently. Not going to open it full blast. Well pump is off. And nice and gently. We don't want to go nuts here. We don't want to relieve the pressure gently. I'm going to go check the other end of the hose. Make sure we're not making a mess outside. Yep, looks okay. Not making any major floods here. It'll be alright. I don't like to go fast with it. It's an old tank. We don't want to rupture the tank, and then we're in big trouble here. I like to let it go nice and gently. You just heard that click. That's the pressure switch. Pressure switch underneath that great cover just closed. The switch closed, so they would have turned the pump on right now. Obviously, it's not going to run because I have it off at the switch. Make sure that's the first thing you do, by the way. Don't forget to shut the pump off. That gauge pressure is not the actual pressure. All the pressure that's on that gauge, they subtract the atmospheric pressure, which at sea level is about 14.7 psi. So they just put the needle pointing at zero when you buy a gauge, but that's actually not. That's not the absolute pressure on the gauge. Absolute would be 14.7 approximately, depending upon your altitude and weather conditions. As you can see on the pressure gauge, we're dropping slowly down about 25 psi. Once we get to zero, like I said, then we can change this guy out. We can take this guy out of here. Now this is an adjustable relief. When you turn this knob, you can adjust it. You can't see it anymore, but there's numbers here. I'll be honest with you, I didn't even look at the numbers. Most reliefs on tanks are on oil tanks are set to 75 psi. So I just got a 75 psi relief. It's not adjustable. This one is adjustable. The one I bought is a set. I don't think it makes any difference, to be honest with you. We're down about 22 psi gauge pressure. So we're almost done. Okay, so we're at zero. I left the valve open just in case any water, any residual. We might get some water coming out of this guy too. I'm going to get a little pan just to contain, so I'm going to make a big mess here. Okay, so we're drained down. We're at zero on the gauge. I'm going to try and get this guy out of there. I'm going to use a pipe wrench, 14-inch pipe wrench. Never use the pipe wrench. You move this little nut here, and that opens and closes the jaws. When you're using a pipe wrench, the pipe wrench only works in one way. This way. It does not work that way, only this way. So when you tighten down, the bottom jaw will clamp down on the part that you're trying to remove. Okay, so hopefully this guy comes out relatively easy. But those were famous last words. Looks like it's coming out. Just got to get a bite on it. And gently take it out. I don't want to break anything else while I'm doing one thing. I don't want to break another. I'm going to get something to throw underneath here, though, just to make sure we don't make a mess here. I forgot to bring the pan. Let me grab a little pan there. Okay, I got this little glass bowl here. I hope the wife's got a sense of humor. We'll use that. I'll take this out here. Alright, a little rusty water coming out of there. I do have another bucket on standby here just to make sure. Alright, good. We should be good. Here's the new relief I bought. And you can see this one does not have an adjustment. Well, I shouldn't say that. There is a cap in here that you can take off and adjust, I guess, if you wanted to, but there's no need for it. This is set to 75 psi. You can see it on the cap here. Basically, how this works is that if you notice, there's a spring in there. There's a spring inside of there. That spring is basically, the tension is set to hold back to 75 psi. If you get more than 75 psi on the inlet side of this relief, it has enough force to open that, compress the spring, and let the water out this tube here, out this side, which we face down, obviously. Okay, so we're going to just put a little Teflon tape on it. Actually, let me empty out this little container because there seems to be a little bit more water in here coming out. So let me just slow it down for a minute, empty this water out to a bucket. Yeah, we'll let that. We'll finish that. We actually will hold it there. We can actually hold it there. I wasn't really ready. Because of the video, I wasn't ready to go. You would get all this ready to go, obviously. We're going to put some Teflon on it, Teflon tape. Don't go all the way to the end. Leave 2 threads showing at the end, just so when you put it on, the Teflon doesn't get into the heat, into the water system. Okay, one thing with Teflon, or really any thread sealer that you use, make sure you use enough of it, obviously. Okay, make sure you use enough. You gotta get the Teflon into the groove. You can't leave it sitting right on top like it is right now. You gotta get it in there. We gotta set it in there. So it's good to get like a rag and just turn it clockwise with the rag and just force it down into the grooves. Or if you leave it on top, it just gonna get all pushed up. So I gotta go get a rag and bring one. We got a rag and tighten this up. Okay, didn't find a rag. Didn't find a rag, but I did find a piece of paper. This basically so I don't slice my fingers up on the threads. And I just basically squeeze down nice and tight and spin it clockwise. Okay, into the So what I did is I pushed. You can actually see the thread sticking out. That's what you want. You want the leak lock or the thread lock or Teflon tape, whatever you're using. You want it pushed in, or else you just push it all out when you screw it in. Now we're gonna take this old one out. The new one on. Not really crazy about the way it feels going in. It's already getting pretty tight. I mean, the other one didn't have that many threads on it either, but I had more threads in this one. I hope this is not a bad valve here. Let's see what happens here. Be careful, don't over tighten it. It's brass, you break it. Alright. Don't have to over tighten stuff. That should be good. Just get it nice and straight here. Alright, now let's see if there's any leaks here. So we're gonna close this down. Still have everything isolated. All we're gonna do is turn the pump back on. So right now, pump is on. It's pumping water from 275 feet below the surface. You can see the gauge coming up, hopefully. When we get the 60 psi gauge pressure, the pump will shut off. There it is. You heard the click from the switch. Pressure switch clicked, and you can see the pump has shut off. And what looks like approximately maybe 62 psi gauge pressure, more or less, which is fine. We don't have to be that accurate with it. That's close enough. Actually, no, that's incorrect. I thought that was a 6, but it's actually a 5. So it's cutting out at 50 psi, which is kind of low. I'm going to open the water faucet here. So let's open this up a little bit here. See if we can listen for the pressure switch. Yeah, they should have kicked on already by now. That's it, 35. So we got 35 and 50. We got 35 and 50. Let's just double check that. So the pump just kicked back on. Let's see. You should. I'd like to see it shut off at 60. Yeah, about 54. So it's a little bit low. But anyway, let's check for leaks and then we'll adjust that after. So let's look around, make sure we don't have no leaks on our new pressure relief. Like I said, this is set at 75 psi. which is what the other one was set to. The other one was an adjustable leak or an adjustable type pressure relief. This one is a set, which doesn't matter. Once you set it once, you never mess with it anyway. So this is fine. Yeah, so we should be all right. Everything looks good. No more leaks. We'll check on it in a couple of days. Make sure this water dries up. Okay, so here's our pressure switch. Now, be careful. We're going to be doing this live, so we can adjust it. We have to be able to have it turn on and off. So, we have a couple of adjustments here. So once I open up this pressure switch, I notice we do have a little bit of an issue here. If you notice, there's 4 contacts here, okay? You see those they look like little round discs? Those are the contacts. You notice the 2 on the right. Let me make sure this is right when I'm holding the camera, okay? So you notice the 2 on the right, they're not touching each other. You notice the 2 on the left, one of them is touching and the other one isn't. That means that one that's touching is fused. It's welded closed. Okay, that's not good. So this pressure switch definitely has to be replaced. So I guess that will be our next video. It's how to replace this pressure switch. I think I might just leave it. I don't even think I'm going to adjust it because I'm going to get a new one anyway. And when we get the new one in, then I'll show you how to adjust it. But those 2 springs there are where we adjust. Where we would make our adjustments. But yeah, this pressure switch is garbage. I don't even want to mess with it. I'm going to leave it. That contact's bad. It's fused closed. That one right there with the white wire on it. So we're going to change that. Alright, so we can watch the contacts close here. We'll be closing it up in a minute. I have the water open. The house is isolated. I'm just basically draining the tank, so the well pump will come on once the tank pressure is dropped. There it is, right there. You can hear it, and you see that all the contacts are closed. Now I'm going to close the water. I'm leaking out here, and we're going to watch the contacts open once we get through. This is shutting off at about 55 psi. I think I'm going to change this switch. I think I'm going to leave it for now. But we're going to make our adjustments here on these two nuts here. Our cut in and cut out pressures. I'll show you how to do that when I change the switch. There it is. You can see the pump just shut off. You see the contacts open up. I don't see anything leaking. I think we're good. I'll let this make sure this water dries up next couple of days. Come down and check. Yeah. So anyway, this brass part here, where my finger is called a tank T. Okay. So it has 7 connections. It has this connection back here that goes into the tank. It has this connection that goes to the water, to the house rather. Sorry. It has this connection here that comes from the well, from the pump and the ground. It has this connection here that comes up to the pressure switch. It has this connection here that goes to our pressure gauge, so we can set the pressure switch to whatever pressure we want the house to be running at. It has this connection here that comes to our pressure relief in the event that this switch goes completely bad and never shuts the pump off, which is the next thing that's going to happen once that other contact fails. And then it has this connection here, which is for our drain, so we can drain the house down or drain just the tank if we have to make a repair, which is what we did today. So we used this today to drain the water that was in the tank here, and whatever was in this line going up to the to all our shutoffs, to all our isolation valves up there. So I'm gonna just reopen all the isolation valves for now. I'm gonna get a new switch for it, like I said. Open everything up, and we should be good for now. So I opened this valve already. Now we're gonna open this one up here, nice and slowly. Whenever you open the valves, nice and slowly, so we don't get a water hammer. When that higher pressure water hits the lower pressure, you can get a loud banging noise. You can see that the water comes from the well here. This pipe here. This is the one we had closed before. Now it's going to go through. It's going to go through the whole house filter. It's going to come out the whole house filter. It's going to go over and down. So we used to have a water softener, whole house water softener here. We had an issue with it a couple years ago and I threw it out. So basically, I just bypassing that manifold there has a bypass in it, so it's coming. The water's coming down, bypassing what used to be there, which was the softener. Coming back up, back on this pipe. I just opened that line up, and now it goes up through this pipe to the rest of the building here. That's why we have this always closed. The only time we open this up is when we close that one and that one to change the filter in here, which I do about once a year. So the other one I have to do is this one here, which is the outdoor faucets. So open that up nice and slowly. Outdoor faucets, make sure you check them because once in a while, you know, when you start opening and closing valves, has been in the same position for 20 something plus years. Unfortunately, sometimes we get leaks. Once I figure out which way it goes, nice and slowly. Okay, so now the boiler has feed water, and the house has water. Everybody should be happy now. We'll change that switch out next time. Next week I'll change it out. All done. Should be fine. Change the pressure relief on the well tank, expansion tank for the well. Should be okay. We're going to change that switch next. The pressure switch, I don't like the look of it at all. It's slightly out of adjustment too, but I'm not going to mess with it. I'm going to leave it alone. I'm going to let sleeping dogs lie. And I'm going to order a new one. Matter of fact, I got to get the numbers for it so I can order the same replacement one if they still make it. It's always best to get the same exact one when you're replacing things like that, so you don't have to be rewiring things, running new wires or anything like that. You just take that one out, put the new one in, put the wires back where the old ones were, and you're done, ready to go. All right, so thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.